So I almost played Appleton in my Sableye Charizard deck leading into Hartford Regionals, but I didn't, and there's a funny story behind that. Before I get into that, my name is Rahul Reddy. Welcome to the YouTube channel. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like and subscribe. Today we're looking at the Hartford Regional Championships, my tournament report, what went wrong, and well, I lost my win in. This is not the deck I played, but this is what I wanted to play. This is what I did end up playing. 3 cards off, as you notice, a distinct lack of apple. So, the idea behind the Appleton and Appleton was that thick mucus does 70 times the number of special energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. And Appleton, with the thick mucus attack, can really put your opponents in a little bit of a tricky situation if we can just attack into them. The Lugia matchup specifically, and just put a lot of pressure on because you don't really have early pressure in that matchup, and Cram for 110 doesn't really do too much. If they evolve up properly and do stuff, like it's just kind of something that doesn't do anything. So the Appleton kind of plays a big part in that role and comes in and is supposed to do that. So I was supposed to be in Hartford around like 11:45, 11:50 p.m. on Friday night. Honestly, a very late arrival time. I should have had a deck picked out. I was torn between Lugia and whatever the group would build. Reagan did very well with Lugia as well again this weekend, and he was like, you should just play Lugia. I didn't listen. I landed. I kept getting delayed, first and foremost. I kept getting delayed. We got deplaned. We got put on the tarmac, like, for a long time. I ended up getting into Hartford at, like, almost 2 o'clock in the morning. So by the time I got to the hotel, it was, like, 2:30. And we were talking about this Apple deck. And it was, like, really, really cool to me. And I was like, you know, I'm down. I'm down to try it. I think we just send it and see what happens. So we had the big apples, Appleton, but no Applin. So we go to the venue the next morning, go to the vendors, and lo and behold, they don't have them. And so we are panicking, and around 7:55, we all pivot lists and just submit whatever we have listed. And I just made a quick 3 changes because I left all my cards in the room. I was so confident we'd find Applins, which is a really stupid mistake on my part. Like, I had Arceus Umbreon built, I had Lugia built in the room, and I had Miraidon and Guardy built. So, like, I could have bought any of those decks. I could have switched to any of those decks, Mew, whatever. And instead, I had to switch 3 cards last second, so I just added a Beach Court, second Cram, and a Switch because they seemed like the most reasonable. And I had, like, put some of those cards in the back of my deck box just in case I, you know, wanted to make changes in the morning, because I was debating between 2-stop versus 1-stop, 1 Beach Court, or adding a Switch versus a second Choice Belt, stuff like that. And I guess it paid off to bring those cards, but I had to panic switch at like 7:55. We ended up finding the Applins at the Let's Play, like, Learn to Play area, which was pretty funny, but this meant that all of us were on different 60s for this event. So a very uncoordinated effort, not good look for the group, but I ended up running it. Sablezard, I was locked in. I had to be locked in. This is the deck that I was playing. So the deck is very simple, straightforward. You have 3 Sableye, 2 Cram, 1 Zard. Those are your main attackers. You're basically trying to go in with Cram early, rush yourself to a turn 3 Sableye almost certainly. You have Zard with Raihan as well as Gate prepped, so you can try to get a Zard attack off twice in a game without having the pressure of needing to just close out the game with Zard. Excuse me. And so you have all these fun techs in here. There's no Battle VIP Pass because that card is just cloggy, and this deck has no way to generate real card advantage. There's no Greninja, which is why there's Pokestop, because this deck can't generate card advantage like the other Lost Box decks can by discard drawing 2. You have to kind of make your own card advantage, and Pokestop is the best way to do that. Like, Pokestop is the best way for you to try to find more items, try to keep digging through the deck. There's 4 Nest, 4 Switch Card, 4 Rope. Like, look at all these items that will just help you progress your game. It only gets really bad, obviously, if you hit, like, important cards. That being said, let's jump into my tournament report. I had, like, slept like 2.5 hours. I was not feeling super confident. And I had honestly never played Sablezard in a tournament before. So I was really, really scared. Like, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon at tournaments, specifically like regionals and at cups and stuff. But outside of that, I've not been thinking about Pokemon at all. Life's been really busy for me, which is not an excuse, I understand. But this quarter has been very, like, my head has not been in Pokemon. I'm sure you guys can tell based on the goofy decks and the results I've been having and the lack of content as well in general. But when quarter 4, or like even 2 weeks when the new set drops, Paldea Evolved, you're going to see a whole different side of me, prepping for NAIC and Worlds. Like, those 2 tournaments are very, very important to me. I've never day 2 in NAIC, so that's something I really want to do. Yeah, so tournament kicks off. I go up against Eric, Milet, round 1. Eric has like a super slow start in game 1, giving me an advantage just going Cram hit. I think I kill an Arceus off of 2 Cram hits before he even powers up anything. And he goes into a Vulpix. But he takes his first prize with the Vulpix on my Cram, which gives me 2 Sableye hits into the Vulpix for free. And I think he Lost Zones one of my Sableye. And then he has like a Duraludon on the bench and like another Vulpix. And then he goes into the V Max and then the Vulpix V Star. And then he goes, and then I just basically like win the game off of a like end game Zard attach, like rope boss onto the Vulpix or whatever to kill it. And that ends the game. And then game 2, Eric gets the turn 1 Trinity charge, but it's just like a lone Arceus that he's like Trinity charging to. And that doesn't like do anything for him. And so, but my hand is not good either. So we're like sitting there for like 3 turns doing nothing. And then I remember like just starting to go off at a certain point. And then Eric was once again like 1 turn short. And like I won the game once again with like I had a horn to close out the game. That matchup is not good, by the way. Arceus with like Lost Cities is not good because they can just do very little to take knockouts. And they can play cards like Volo and Sharon's Care and stuff to mitigate your damage. And then just put your attackers in the lost zone, which gets really scary because if the lost zone like a Cram or Sableye early, you're going to go down on attackers, and especially like in that matchup, I think you have to Zard twice, which is like the thing that's like really scary for me. Round 2, I go against DJ, who's one of my locals. DJ game 1, I have like a terrible start game 1, and DJ like so I just like literally like go attach retreat into Drapion, like take the knockout on turn 1 against his Mew, going second because my hand is like literally abysmal. Like I gear twice and I whiff on turn 1, which is like really sad. And then I go knockout, like take 2 prizes. I'm like, I just need to progress my board state. Like DTE Mew doesn't typically play Lost City right now. They're all playing Path. So if he just kills my Drapion, then I can maybe get it back with Clara later in the game, but I just need to progress my game state right now. He ends up like preemptively doing something and getting a Lost City with his Forest Sealstone. I think he only played 1. And I think he thought he had a tablet or something. He had a Geodude for like literally 1 card, I think. And he does not hit the tablet. And he hits it for 190. At that point, I just take 3 prizes. Oh, no, he doesn't even hit it. He just retreats and passes. And at that point, I like play a couple more cards, set up my board a little bit, get like another Comfy out. I think I top deck like Nest Ball. So like I Nest Balled out a Comfy, attached to the Comfy, and I just like took the knockout. I just like said, knockout, here you go. And I like just went down to, I think I blew like a couple switch cards that turn that were sitting in my hand to just like get the ball rolling and see some more cards into the Lost Zone. Maybe put myself at like 4. Then I took another knockout. Now I'm down 4 prizes, and his Lost City is bumped because I vacuumed it. And so this leads to him just going in for the kill, and the next turn I just kind of win. Or like in the 2 turns I win because I find Clara just to end the game. Game 2, I prize double fire, so it makes my game really awkward. And then for like a majority of the game, I can't find it. And he has a really good judge in the middle of the game that causes me to miss for a turn, and that basically swings the entire game because when I attack with Drapion, he's able to Lost Zone it, and I, not having fires, cannot clean up the game the way I wanted to. So that really sucked. And then game 3, he basically has like a non-factor of a start. He has like 3 Pokemon out on turn 1, and then I just literally go into Drapion turn 2, attach to it, and just go, okay, 190. Or just take the knockout, and he doesn't really have a response. He's like 2 Pokemon in play, like 4 cards in hand. So I can tell his hand is bricked, and it really was. It was like Roxanne, Boss, like something, like maybe VIP Pass from that he top decked into. But his hand was like a complete brick, and he couldn't do anything, and I won the game off the back of that. So round 3, I go against Eddie, who's playing like straight Sableye, which is really interesting because he's got paths and like 4 switches as well as more switch cards and stuff like that. So it's like a little bit more like I'm going to get to Sableye first. And both games, I think the entire difference maker came down to Eddie opting to go first over second in the matchup because I got the turn 1 Cram knockout both games. And Eddie almost got me game 1 with a double horn play. He had 1 horn in the Lost Zone, and he horned 1 more thing to my bench. So he was going to try to bench lock me from going Hawlucha Sableye for game the next turn. And he didn't get that, and so I was able to Hawlucha Sableye for the game. And he then showed me the 3rd horn in his hand. He was like, I knew I should have just horned 1 more Pokemon. And I was like, oh my god, this guy plays 3 horns. That's really scary. And I had to keep that in mind for the next game. But the next game just came down to like me taking the first prize, me keeping up on tempo the entire game, me getting the first Hawlucha double Sableye knockout. Like I was always in a position of power from that spot, so I just like leverage that for the rest of the game against Eddie. And this time I like made sure to like Clara back cards that were hornable this time, like Comfies that I guess after I saw the 1 horn I got comfortable, so playing poorly again. Round 4 was on stream against Justin Kulas. Game 1 was like a complete turbo brick, in my opinion. And then game 2, I could have won the end game by horning. I thought about horning the Bidoof earlier, but if I horned the Bidoof earlier, on the penultimate turn, he could just evolve into a Bibarel, which he did have in hand, I think, or he had an Ultra Ball. So I would just give him like a free Evo because I needed those 3 damage counters to go on the active Arceus, I think, to win the game because both choice belts were gone at this point, I'm pretty sure. And so I needed the 3 damage to go there. His Sharon's Care really threw me off that game. I didn't know they played that. I thought they played like a Volo or something. I don't know. I like completely screwed up. And it was like, lo and behold, the next card off Pokestop, so that really sucked. So I barely lost that game against Justin. It would have been a tie, I think, no matter what on stream, based on how it went. But a tie is better than a loss. Round 5, I go against Josh playing Lugia. It's like super, super close. And the game ends up coming down to me going... Game 3 ends up going Hawlucha... No, Game 2 ends up going Hawlucha into Sableye to kill the Stonejourner. We're both doing nothing. Like, his Stonejourner sitting in the active the whole game doing nothing. And I'm sitting doing one flower selecting a turn, basically, because my hand is also super bad. And it's like the slowest, like, first, like, 6 turns of the game. And I'm considering conceding Game 2 to try to win Game 3. For like quite a while, just because like nothing is happening and I've already won Game 1. But his start is so slow that like it gives me a chance to come back and win. Don't entirely know how I actually won it. It's just like both of us did nothing for like 4 turns. Round 6 I go up against Jose. Jose Morales is playing Lugia as well. Game 1, Jose like basically does not have like a game. Like he like opens like T-Tower, Mesa goes to Tails, like that kind of thing. Like he just doesn't get to play the game. So it's like a quick like 1-0. And then Game 2 is like something very similar where like Jose doesn't get a turn on Lugia down again. I just hit into the T-Tower. He gets the Lugia down. I think I like boss hit the Lugia with Cram, Choice Belt. He like sets up his board and like ends up raiding the wind, I think. Benching another Lugia, so I get another free knockout, and like at this point the game is like completely chalked because I'm so far ahead. But it was just like the biggest like bricks I've seen from someone in quite a while. He ends up like eventually getting like a top deck Ultra Ball into like Luminion to play the game, but at that point I was already at like 2 prizes damage already on the board. Like I can take my sweet time to just end the game with a Horn Boss with Zard. So I'm feeling good. I'm beating all these matchups I shouldn't be beating. Like Lugia is not a good matchup. I don't think Arc stuff is a good matchup either. I don't really know what good matchups this deck has. I don't know what confidence I brought this with. But so then I go into Tony, who's playing Gudra. Game 1 is really weird. There's like this one turn. I just remember this one turn specifically because like I completely blank out. I think this is like where the tiredness hits. And like I think for some reason I have a vacuum in my hand to get to 10. And I look and I'm like, dude, I don't have a vacuum. And so I have to blow like 2 extra switching cards and an energy to get to 10. Because I just completely, like, I'm like, what? And this ends up costing me because I'm 1 rope away from closing the game out against Tony at the end. And I prized a rope, I believe. And Tony had no other play besides, like, Moisture Star 1 guy. And just be like, you need rope, boss, plus, like, Zard to end the game here. And I had everything. If I didn't have to use, like, a rope. I'm pretty sure, like, I could see my whole deck that turn type of thing. Because he had already used Roxanne and Judge. So I feel like I completely threw Game 1. And then Game 2 was just, like, the biggest, I didn't do anything, Tony did everything, and like the game just virtually ended very quickly. With both of us just like flower selecting for 1 over and over, but like Tony was able to just keep attaching to the Gudra, so he was able to put on pressure, as opposed to me just sitting there going like flower selecting for 1. This sucks, go. So Tony makes it to day 2 with Gudra. I definitely think I tossed Game 1, I just don't know how. Like I just know there was a turn I messed up. So now I have another win and end up against Charlie Kerr, good friend of mine. We've been playing against each other quite a bit this season, actually. He's playing Arctina, probably the same 60 as Kulos. They're very good friends. And Kerr, like, Game 1, he pretty much sets up almost perfectly, and it comes down to a situation where I have, like, an 8-card deck, I think, with 3 Clara. Like, all 3 Clara are actually in my deck. There's a Gear, there's a Gate, and 2 Fires. And I'm literally just looking for a way to get to a Fire to knock out the Zard, and then I can just Clara again for Zard and win the game. And that's literally what I'm looking for. So I go stop, slam to stop, because that's like I don't have any more switching options, so I have to do it this way. Like I have to just throw up the Zard that I preemptively benched. Like I have no more switching outs, so I have to do it this way. And then I have like 1 Beach Court, and I know I have like 2 switch outs prized too. Like 2 of my like 4 remaining prizes are switch outs. And I slam it, and my 3 cards off stop are like Dead Card, Clara Fire, and I was like, ugh, like Gate gets me there, Gear gets me there, So that was really frustrating because I was like basically the penultimate turn, and that just lost me the game. Charlie had like a really good judge in the middle of the game that really like stuck me for like a turn or two. And even though his start wasn't super powerful, it's like basically put me too far behind. Game 2, he just opens like lone RCS like pass effectively, and I basically hit into it twice and the game ends. Which, unfortunately for Charlie, good for me. And game 3 was like virtually the same on my end, where it was like open Drapion, like Halucha on bench, like pass, like, and Charlie just went, oh, okay, and then he just like starts smacking me. I think he took 4 prizes before I got my first attack off. There was like a world where I could get to 10 still and do the Sableye damage, and then go Zard to kill with Raihan, which I was prepping for in my hand, like Zard kill with Raihan, with Choice Belt. He comes up with something, I go Zard kill with Choice Belt, and the 3 damage counters has to like stick, or like not use one Choice Belt, but then 3 damage counters have to stick someplace, and I get there. Round 9, I just go up against Mario. He's telling me about how it's his first points at regionals if we take a tie, and then I just go ahead 9 deep. I think it's like awesome to hear that from a new player. It's super cool. And I mean, the points don't really matter for me, so I honestly should have conceded to Mario and given him like a guaranteed points. But in the moment, I wasn't thinking because I was so tired from the day. I got back and I slept for like, I don't know, like 10 hours. It was a long sleep. But overall, the deck was actually very good. It's very good at what it does and what it's supposed to do. I just didn't hit the matchups that like it excels in, I think. Like Mew, Lost Box Mirror, I think is still fine. Guardy, I think these are some of the matchups that are really good. But Guardy's been on the downturn for quite a while now. It's evident that Lugia and Arc decks are becoming much more popular, so a deck like this kind of does not excel nearly as much. But I'm just glad that I have made it to the regionals more than anything, honestly. I thought I was not going to make it. I thought I simply would have missed my flight, all things considered. So I am very grateful to have gone. Next up for me is Milwaukee, and that'll be my last regional this season. There's Milwaukee and Fresno. Let me know in the comments if you're going to either. Milwaukee is my penultimate regionals. Or sorry, final regionals. That's the word I'm looking for. And then it'll be NAIC for me. So as soon as Milwaukee's done, I'll be putting all my focus towards Paldea Evolved, and hopefully you guys will see Rahul's first Day 2 NAIC performance. I've said that plenty of times, but the closest I've ever gotten is 5-2-2. So NAIC is not my best tournament. It's usually my worst. But all things considered, thank you for watching. Thank you for all the people who came up and said hi, got signatures this weekend. I know I was like super out of it, but that's just because I was tired. I promise it's not like you guys. I was just like an actual zombie walking on land type of thing. And like the line for the cafe was so long at all points that like I could never get an energy drink either. And I was just sitting there like, I need to sleep. Like I think like every round that like went over by like 10 minutes, I was like about to pass out on a table. Like I was literally so ready to just like die. I told like 2 people, like if I'm not responding when pairings go up, please just call me, because like I would just be asleep on the table. So that's how tired I was. Not doing that again. I'm getting too old for this. With that being said, thank you for everything. Please like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the flip.